Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the daily update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is up about 1.5% on the S&P, led by the Nasdaq. Actually, Nasdaq was red yesterday. Nasdaq is up more than 2% today. All the indices are about 1.5%, 2%. Kind of well balanced up day. Not like yesterday where we saw like the banks and the small caps and the energy were up like 4 or 5%, while the Nasdaq was down. S&P was only up for 0.6% today. Well balanced up day. All the indices are up about 1.5, 2%, some more, some less, and it's a good sign. Because I think the market, and especially Nasdaq, that tech leaders been soaring since the March low, especially the semiconductors just went crazy. And semiconductors actually still going. Semiconductors never, slowed down like Nasdaq did in December. And so, but in that process where the tech stocks were lagging and then consolidating and taking a breather, we saw the bank stocks start going up. We saw the airline stocks, the transport stocks, and we saw in December small caps making a huge move. Banks, XLF, the financial sector is actually at all-time high level. We saw Goldman Sachs, making new all-time highs. Now you see all the bank stocks actually gotten back up to near the COVID decline now after suffering about 40% decline on that XLF, the bank sector, and we're back to the even point. And so, and they were the most heavily lagging sector in the market. And so it's a good sign. You see the banks are turning around. You see these lagging indices come back up, especially Russell 2000 to outperform S&P. So all these things are a good sign, and market is kind of gearing towards back to kind of healthy uptrend level. We saw very fast, abrupt contraction back in March lows with the COVID, and now it looks like market is trying to balance itself out. Because we saw certain sectors just made a big move, right? And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. January of this year, market is trying to balance itself out. And today was kind of a good example of that day where, like yesterday was a good example of, kind of like market is trying to balance itself out. And today already balanced it out today, while we see a lot of these indices are equally green today. So let's stick with the spider 65-minute chart here, and then tomorrow I'll do a little bit more comprehensive recap for you guys looking at the indices, but we'll stick with the 65-minute and trying to figure out what we can expect going into tomorrow. So if you've been watching my videos this week and last week, we've been talking about how this market likes to cultivate higher lows and higher highs. And when this market is in that mode, in that mood, you want to continue to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. And that's kind of what I mean, especially the fact that, when we saw that short-term moving average reclaiming, this was back in January. That was just a couple days ago. We talked about that. All that battle was fought right here, right? All that battle was fought right there. This was that significant point, that, inflection point where is this market, is this decline going to become anything, right? We saw that very, very fast correction in the short term, obviously, because this was just one day of correction. And something that I've said, for years, I think, one day correction doesn't make a trend. For the downtrend to develop, it's going to need more than a one day. You know what I mean? So you never want to get into a dramatic conclusion every time we see a shenanigan move like that. You always look at things objectively and understand the trend, right? The short term, mid term, and long term, which I cover for you guys every single day. So all that battle was fought here, right? Because if this was going to turn into a short term downtrend, we will need to see that cultivation of what? Lower highs, right? Without that lower high, we're never getting the downtrend. How can the downtrend can be made without lower high? So if bears thought this was going to be a bear flag, they needed to see a rejection near that short-term moving average, right? Because the short-term moving average has been supporting the buyers, as you can see here, right? Even if I zoom out a little bit, you can see that short-term moving average acting as support, propping the market up. Once we lost that short-term moving average, then we saw the price getting lower. But on Tuesday, right, we talked about how this level is very, very important, right? What bears didn't want to see, bears did not want to see market propping itself up above that short-term moving average. And bears sure don't want to see that short-term moving average rising. So on Tuesday, all the battle was fought once we stayed above it, right? At that moment, we had to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers in all terms, short term, mid-term and long term. And then even though we saw a gap down yesterday morning, we covered this yesterday, we saw very fast dip buying activities. And then even though we saw a pullback on the last hour yesterday, we saw another gap up. That's what it means when we give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. Because in that process, what this market has been doing, higher lows and higher highs, and the short-term moving average continues to rise. We opened this gap up, and this gap still remains open, and that's a good thing for the buyers, because should there be some kind of a shenanigan again, some kind of a downturn going forward, 376, 373, it's going to act as support. Not only that, we have a short-term moving average hanging around in that vicinity, right, protecting the gap area. Also, with today's move, we've just discovered that rising potential pivot, because it was resistance, potentially could act as support. So we got the micro term pivot / support here, right? And then we have the 376, which is a gap area, and then we got 375, which is the rising short-term uptrend, or the rising moving average, short-term moving average there. So we want to continue to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. And if I zoom out a little bit here, right, we can see that here since month of December, it's been big grindy, right? We've been seeing these up moves, and quickly, it came back down to retest. But what is this market's been doing this entire time, right? First of all, we've been tracking this rising uptrend support here, not to mention my midterm moving average, right? Talked about these abrupt one-day declines. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's not get too scared. Let's not get into a dramatic conclusion. But let's continue to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers in the midterm, despite the fact that you see these declines, because that's totally normal. This market to see abrupt declines here and there is totally normal price action. This isn't crazy. This is not abnormal. This market is all quote unquote manipulated. It's just totally normal price action. And our job is to navigate through those. Not to always try to be avoided. Because if you're trying to avoid these declines, you're likely to miss out what is about to come. You're about to miss out much bigger rallies. Right? And keep in mind, with all of that stuff going on, this market has been faithfully cultivating higher highs and higher lows. And we call that an uptrend, right? That's an uptrend, higher lows and higher highs. As long as this market moves in this way, we want to continue to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. Let's check out that oscillator, because last time I saw my oscillator start to get into that overbought zone. So actually, I was out the last part of today's trading session, like last 2 hours, something like this. So last time I actually tweeted out my oscillator, it was actually it crossed. That's the last time when I saw it. And I came back to my office and I looked at it just to do this video. I saw that it actually crossed back up. That means we actually still got a little bit of room here. You know, that means that there is a chance market can make another push before grinding all day type of move, right? So this is kind of like, because you see that we saw down, cross the downside, and then cross right back up. That tells us we might see another push up, you know, early hours or something like that, and then grind all day, and then we have to re-examine how this market behave by end of the day tomorrow. Tomorrow is the weekend analysis, the market update. I will be going through the indices, give you guys kind of a longer term recap and see what we can expect going into remainder of this month of January. Enjoy your evening. Good luck trading tomorrow.